So we're talking about the Cosm Aysle, and one of the interesting things about Aysle in Torg Eternity is that the invaders this time, they come in from below.
That's right, they do. These creepy, weird things come up from
Hi, Darrell.
from below.
So we're talking about Aysle today for Torg Eternity. Let's start out by saying, what is Aysle?
So, Aysle, as I like to call it.
Oh.
It's Aysle.
It's Aysle. We had a long discussion about different ways that people mispronounce many of the terms in Torg.
Is England, Great Britain, the Commonwealth, Scandinavia, that whole area, which has been taken over by Euthorian, not Uthorian. And,
I get that wrong all the time.
I would totally say
we've
Euthorian.
decided, right? So you can say it however you want. But and his Viking raiders, and they are the Euthorian, of course, is the High Lord of Aysle, who is invaded at the Gaunt Man's behest.
Right, so it is a land of magic and mystery and adventure, and a lot of this happens below the ground.
It does.
Okay, because there's all kinds of connections between our world and the sort of underworld. Is that what it's called? The underworld?
It is called the underworld.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have these crazy wights that are these very pale-skinned albino creatures, and dragons, and dwarves, and elves. So there's a lot of fantasy stuff going on there. What are the type of characters you would play from Aysle?
Oh man, Aysle has some of the best. So you could play an Elven Warden,
Woo!
which has one of the things you might take as a perk is a White Wolf Companion, which is kind of a spirit wolf. Actually.
Right.
They're super cool. You can play the Outsiders now, which are kind of the barbarian kingdoms that come from Aysle. So that's brand new for Torg Eternity.
Right.
And I guess probably the most popular so far has been the Dragon Warrior. So the dwarves were chased out of their homes and pretty much annihilated by Euthorian in what we call Euthorian's Rage. And the last of them swore they would go down fighting. So they built this special magical armor with all these different enhancements. It's kind of like power armor.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they're really cool. And they braid their hair for their last stand kind of stuff. It's pretty neat.
I'm really excited to get to see more of the story about the dwarves and the elves and the people of Aysle. So let's talk a little bit about Euthorian. It's Euthorian? The High Lord. Let's talk about the High Lord. The High Lord of Aysle.
The Dark One.
Euthorian, the Dark One. Tell me about him.
So those who remember original Torg probably remember the whole strangeness with him and Pella Ardenne and him taking over her body and controlling things for a long time there, sending her champion Tolan into some nether realm for a long time. All that has stayed mostly the same, but there are a few cool twists you'll read about in the new background for Torg Eternity. We took a lot of the events like that we knew people already knew about from the original game and turned them on their head just a little bit sometimes to make it kind of new and exciting.
Right. I think one of the things I thought was really cool is the way that we talked about Quinn Sebastian, who is now leading the Delphi Council. He was like, no, Pella Ardenne's okay. I vouch for her. Right? And we're all
how
like,
does he know that?
Yeah, how do you know? Right?
And how does he know about the Delphi Council member over in Aurora too, Sir Avery Wellington?
Right. How did he know that guy? Yeah. So interesting stuff. Is there anything else that's different about Aysle from old Torg to Torg Eternity?
Yeah, I think the big thing is we felt like the original Aysle, as cool as it was, had a little bit of an identity problem. If each of the realms of Torg is a trope from from the game industry and science fiction and fantasy, Aysle was a little high fantasy, but maybe not as cool to adventure in like a Dungeons and Dragons sense, or it's not the grim dark of Warhammer. It didn't really seem to have as much identity as we wanted it to have. So we have doubled down on that, and not only have we made it kind of it's dark and cool, but it's not quite grim dark. It's its own flavor of dark. But the really neat thing is, instead of a maelstrom bridge coming down from above as their sole means of invasion, they have that too. Euthorian actually cast this huge spell back on his homeworld that comes up from below.
Mm-hmm.
So the dungeons and crypts and everything else of the original realm, Cosm, have now crept into our Earth and connect to the subways and bank vaults and all
Right.
Anyone's basement cellar could lead to treasure or monsters.
Exactly.
Speaking of that, so this great spell that he cast. Now, he was able to do that because of Aysle's world laws. What are the world laws of Aysle?
So, Aysle's big three are you've got the law of magic, and they've got easily the highest magic axiom.
Right.
And, the law of magic.
They are the magic
It
cosmos.
is. It's like if you want to cast spells, it's Aysle. Aysle is the place to be. Then they've got the law of enchantment, because they've got so much magic, it spills over into things, without extra effort. So you start swinging your sword, in combat long enough, it's going to pick up some of that magical energy and make a magic sword or make magical boots or...
So the more cool stuff I do with my gear in Aysle, the odds are that it may become enchanted.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool.
And that's
Exactly.
and that's one of our reasons, like every cosm, we need a reason. Why would people want to go there? And it's like, look, the more we do here, the more of this, enchanted treasure we get that can be used as part of our war effort. And also that we're taking away from Uthorian and his forces.
And there's also the light of law and darkness, right?
Light and Darkness is the last one. This is the one that we spent a lot of effort on because, like morality in Nile Empire, it can be a little tricky navigating, well, what's light, what's dark. And one of the problems with it originally was it's like, if you're invested in darkness, you are ugly. And so if there's supposed to be courtly intrigue, it's like, oh, I'm going to trust the pretty one. I don't know about that ugly guy.
It was a little obvious.
Okay.
Interest you in a sword?
No.
Well, see, what's interesting about that is I've looked at the perks, right, for light and darkness, and if you want to be a really interestingly cunning and like social master, you can do that through darkness. You can be the guy that's sort of pulling strings behind the scenes, or you can be the paladin of light if you want to go the light way and be smiting the supernatural evil. There's a and that's both for heroes. I mean, those are both heroes I just described, not necessarily villains,
Right.
But they could also be villains,
Yeah,
which is cool.
Yeah, we wanted room for a character touched by darkness who is fighting for good.
Right.
Like a necromancer who's like, okay, he is surrounded by death and destruction, and evil, but he's not really part of it. He's trying to use it. Now, it's probably not going to end well. But
And the necromancer might be the extreme version of that, right?
Yes.
I mean, like the barbarian from the Wastes, a Conan type, right?
Right.
He's kind of the outlier. He's not really the typical Aysle from the old Torg hero. He's more of an anti-hero, but he fits into this very well, and now he can fight against Uthorian too.
So those are the world laws, casting kick-ass magic and getting stuff enchanted and light and darkness. And you said that one of the reasons we want to go to Aysle is for these magical items. What is the other reason to go adventure in Aysle? Dragon hordes, right? We want those big piles of treasure.
More treasure.
So, what's kind of cool if you think about it? What we've really done is we've taken the underworld, crypts and dungeon delving, magic items, dragons, right? Does this sound familiar? Of course
Yeah,
it does,
of
right?
course.
It's D&D. So I don't want to say Aysle is D&D, but it's definitely, that's the flavor we picked. There's some Lord of the Rings influence in there. There's a little Conan influence in there.
That's the part
all
I
that
like the
stuff,
best,
right?
yeah.
But at its core, I'd have to say the influence is old school D&D.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I can't wait to learn more about it.
And one of the things that we definitely tried to do with it is tie it more distinctly to the war effort itself.
Right.
So, you're delving for the war. And the other thing is, we talk about these tunnels that are kind of going everywhere. There's a special type of guy called a seeker that can actually navigate these because these magical tunnels can come up anywhere. And that can be a powerful tool in the war effort.
So the underworld might be the way we get into places we ordinarily couldn't get into.
That's right, and it also might connect with the land below,
Ooh.
the land of the dead.
There's a lot of stuff going on underground.
One of my favorite quotes in the book is, I went in a crypt and I came out a millionaire.
And that's Aysle.
That's Aysle.
Thanks.